Hi, I'm Joe,
And I'm Ricky.
and this is season 3, episode 8 of the Beer and Broadband podcast. It's slated to come out on May 25th, 2020. So, one of those days that's in the future, or maybe in the past for you, if depending on when you're listening to it. Um, what we're going to do is we're going to get right into the show today. We are going to talk about a couple of things. I brewed some basic mead, um, talk about some AI powered voice filtering technologies, and some things like that. So, mostly we're going to talk about tech and mead today. But let's get right into the mead. I think, Ricky, you've had a chance to possibly start sniffing and everything. So, I brewed a mead. And on the 19th, so about 2 weeks ago, I bottled it. So it's April 19th,
Mhm.
2020. And I called it Basic Mead, but I back sweetened it a little bit. And so when I first did it before I back sweetened it,
Mhm.
it was very dry and kind of watery. But then when I back sweetened it, it's 12.77 ABV, and it instantly the extra honey, because I put some just plain clover honey in it,
Mhm.
and it's clover honey base. Um, it just kind of brought out all the nice notes that were in there and everything like that. And I felt like it tasted pretty good at the time that I bottled it. But I had a bottle pop on me, like the cork popped out,
Yeah.
and the carbonation, the nucleation, like caused it to fizz over a little bit. And so I knew that I couldn't just let that one sit. I had to drink it, and I drank it 2 nights ago. And I am going to be really interested to see because I had to keep it in the fridge during the day. It
Mhm.
got pretty cold. I'm going to be interested to see what you think of it.
Yeah, it's still a really young mead, so it's hard to judge too much because it's got a lot of off flavors, but mead generally does. It takes a long time for mead to age and kind of get to the point that it's smooth again. I'll say at least maybe in mine, it has almost a little bit too much back sweetening. It's really sweet. But part of that can be if you sweetened it, like back sweetened it, and went directly in the bottles. And then mine went into the fridge pretty quickly. So it probably didn't get a chance to ferment too much. Um,
So it's set in the I back sweetened it like at the beginning of April,
oh,
and
okay.
I made this in January. It's set in primary until February. Um, then I took it out of primary and I put it in March, and I put it
Hmm.
into or in February, and I put it into secondary, and I let it continue to or no, I'm sorry, it stayed in primary until almost April. At the beginning of April, I felt like it had gone completely dry at that point. I didn't like the flavor of it, so I added some stuff to back sweeten it. This is one of the ones that I hadn't added any tea or anything like that to.
Hmm.
So it didn't have any extra tannins or anything like that. I just put some more clover honey into it, and then um, I let it set for a little bit, let it set for a couple of weeks. And one of the things that I felt like to begin with, because it's in that 12 to that 10 to 13% range that we've talked about
Hmm.
before. Um, it was much more harsh. There is a definite change in the flavor between the day that I bottled it, which was I felt like it had a fairly pleasant taste, but still like some of that new mead kind of flavors and
Hmm.
everything like that, to today, which is there is a significant change in flavors between those two.
Yeah.
It's,
And
it's
I'd imagine with it now being cold, because that's one of the things you can really do to help an alcohol that's not quite fully matured yet, is you really just can't taste as much stuff. And I guess I shouldn't say stuff. You can't taste as much of the phenols and like the off things about them when they're cold. So that's kind of generally what I'll do when I make it a mead or something, just anything really strong. I'll save a little bit in like a side bottle before I go back and back sweeten and do anything like that, and I'll get that really cold to see what it tastes like because I generally don't drink warm alcohol. But yeah, this one's definitely. I mean, it's not bad. I think in a couple months it'll kind of come into itself. The only thing is, I think if especially if it was in the bottle that long, I don't think my particular bottle, because I know they were all in different ones, picked up fermentation too much more. There was a little bit of yeast in it, but I think we talked beforehand, and that might be just from racking it over.
Definitely was from
But
racking
mine's,
it
yeah,
over.
mine's way too sweet and doesn't have any carbonation in it, so it just didn't pick back up for mine, which is
Well,
sometimes understandable because honey is a little bit harder to ferment.
hmm
So most of the time, if you want to like bottle condition, you want to get carbonation in there. You put just straight corn sugar, or they'll sell these like little tablets you can drop in that are essentially just pure, really easy to digest sugar to blow that out.
so mine is very sweet. It, like you said, it's way too sweet. I don't think, um, I don't think it's ever gonna go back to being like as dry as it was. I think I could have put um, half as much honey in it, and it would have been fine. It wouldn't have been, super super sweet like it is right now. Um, so like maybe next time I do something like this, I'll add a pound instead of 2 pounds, a half a pound per gallon of mead.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. And one thing you can do while you're tasting it, while you're mixing stuff in, because even if you have a recipe, generally, like anything with cooking or really any other type of food preparation, you taste it as you go. That sweetness comes out the longer you wait. So especially for something in the mead that you got to let sit for a while, it doesn't need to be as sweet when you're tasting it the first time, because those sweetnesses will come out as the mead kind of starts to mellow.
So well, it needed a back sweetening though. It had
Oh yeah,
went
I'm
like
sure it
to
absolutely needed some. It's just
point
one of
oh
those
nine
things to
nine.
keep in your head because that's a
Yeah.
mistake I made a lot when I first started. Is I got it to as sweet as I wanted when I would then go to bottle, and then I'd come back a month and a half later and it'd be too sweet.
Mm. I feel like though that the clover honey that I used, um, which is something that I got, it has some nice flavors to it, like um, the Red Star champagne yeast that I threw in there. This is one of those that we thought had stuck. Remember,
Hmm.
we had talked about it like it just like wasn't going, it wasn't doing anything, and we weren't sure why. Um, and it was one of those that we thought was messed up, but it just took it forever to eat through the honey. The other one that I've got downstairs, it's still eating through the honey. That champagne yeast is just it's just taking it forever to
Hmm.
burn through it, and I'm not really sure why, but I mean it's just the nature of the beast, so to speak. So, um, you ready to talk about some crisp
Yeah.
stuff? Um, so we're using an app on Discord that's like a noise filtering app that we've talked about a couple times, or I'm using it right now,
Hmm.
called Krisp. And so normally with me, you can hear a lot of background noise because the air conditioner's running, the fan's running. I've got a couple of computers in here, but I don't think you can hear any of that stuff right now. At least it doesn't seem to be on any of the playback that I could hear. Now, the last time there was a little bit of a problem with the noise gate not picking up my voice as well because I'm not right up on the microphone like I am when I have a headset on. But my it seems like um, that this is really like making a difference in a fairly noisy room. I don't have a very low noise
Yeah.
floor here. But you, on the other hand, what are you using for your?
I'm just using the natural voice cancellation that's built into my Plantronics headset disclaimer, that is like it's a fairly nice headset from work. I think it's like $300 when I got it. Maybe it's like 280 or something now. So this is a more proprietary noise cancellation thing, I guess.
Yeah, so you're using a USB, um, RF to base station kind of headset that um, does the noise cancellation, for like meetings and stuff like that. It's kind of how it's set up
Mm,
for, right?
yeah.
And I can tell a difference in the way your mic is very different than my mic, right? Like your voice is much more like crackly, I guess is the best way to explain it. It's kind of um, poppy, so to speak. Um, but yeah, so um, I want whoever's out there listening to this podcast and they're like, yeah, I can hear the difference between the two of them. And yeah, there's like a little bit more of a mellow tone with Krisp. It's up to you as to whether or not you like it, but you have to pay for the one that Ricky that Ricky has.
Yeah.
Um, this one it just comes like no matter where you are with Discord, you just kind of get it, and you can make use of it on their beta program. It's like a hamburger menu at the bottom. You click on this little thing in beside your name and the voice, and then it'll pop up and it'll say, "Do you want to try the beta?" And you can just like slide a slider over. You can even test it to see the difference between when it's on and when it's not. So I think I think it's a good it's a boon for people being able to do audio podcasts or anything like that.
Oh yeah, especially since Discord's used so much for like gaming or just friends hangouts. Those things are always rife with some background noise.
Yeah, exactly. And we play D&D over it and
Hmm.
use it for a lot of things. So Discord's got a ton of good uses. Having functionality like this is great. Um, what what do you feel? So just on the topic of these kind of AI powered noise cancellation features that you can kind of get in real time, how do you feel like this? Um, do you feel like this is like a good thing? Um, or it has some drawbacks or anything like that.
Yeah, I think it's generally good. I mean, apart from everybody has to do the marketing of it's AI driven, even though the definition of AI to them is very far pulled out of what it actually means in the computer science world. Um, you know, they're good. I think anything that really improves communication is worth investing in. There's not as much as a security concern in my mind since you're already sharing your video through the app, I mean, your video or voice. So, if it was for things like normal phone calls that have like a lot more protection, I maybe not sure how I would feel because then again, you're letting some other thing, like if it was, replacing your default phone app. Now, is that recording? Is that keeping your phone calls? But Discord already, if it wanted to obtain that information, has means of doing it. So I can't complain too much. It's just taking the service they already have and trying to make it a bit better because they used to do their own in-house noise cancellation, and it's nice to see them partnering up with another company that looks like they specialize in it.
Have you tried the Crisp app on the iPhone or Samsung? I think Samsung, just any.
No,
Uh,
I haven't tried their app out. Um, the benefit of the headset I have is it's also Bluetooth, so if I need to take even calls on my phone that need some noise cancellation, I just pop it in.
well, so I think it's worth doing it because you get to see like the kind of way that they're trying to leverage themselves to be like business oriented and for people that use like cell phones and things like that. I put it on mine. Basically, you get like 120 minutes a week, and after that, you have to just you don't get to do it through the Crisp service, but they
Hmm.
tie to your phone, and then they will tie to meetings, and you can take meetings like on your cell phone, and they will do noise cancellation in the background for you. which I think is pretty neat. It's kind of interesting. I've tried it. It's basically the same thing as it is, on the app that they're using for Discord. But evidently, Discord, was like somebody that they got to partner with and buy into this technology. But it works on mobile and it works on across a lot of things. I'm interested. They don't talk a lot about how they're doing it necessarily in the app and everything. They just say that they do it. I would be
Yeah.
interested to know what sort of algorithm they're using to be able to pull the non-voice stuff out because they're not the only person that's doing this stuff right now.
Yeah. Well, I imagine they just have a neural network set up that they fed in tons of voice and non-voice data, and then they've just had their mathematicians go through, and they're just really trying to isolate certain patterns in noise, like maybe quick spikes in sound happening outside of a certain frequency. And that's how generally a lot of these companies go about it.
Well, so I would say that that's probably true. But I think that they have to be doing something a little bit different because most companies in the past that have done these sort of things, like even voice canceling that's like built into a headset or something like that, they're either using gates or filters, but they don't have the ability to do that like on the fly. They're doing some sort of processing to this in the chip that's on whatever device you're using, and that's that has to be like taking it, evaluating the flow of data that's coming in, and then like you said, it's cutting out things that are high spikes of noise, or they're like a constant background noise but they don't fit within the range of like human speech or something like
Mm.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but that whole first part though, streaming the data in and then matching it up against your formula, that's what the whole neural network part is.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, maybe I misspoke earlier. Not a lot of people are using neural networks for that, but the algorithm for what kind of count as human noise that has been around for a while, and frankly, it probably doesn't work as well. You know, this is one of those applications that I think a neural network actually can kind of fit into, as long as they've been smart about it. A lot of companies will throw neural networks together and they don't hire themselves any mathematicians and they ask their comp sci people to do it, and that never works because I'm not sure if you've looked at the mathematics that goes behind those things. It's insane. Like,
I've looked at it. Yeah, it's very intense. And I mean, there's some very smart people that look at these things and these are problems they're trying to figure out, right? So I'm definitely not putting that down. I mean, I agree with you. It's not artificial intelligence. It's not like it's making decisions. But they are taking some sort of like virtual intelligence or something that's able to make an action through automation, but it's a very complex automation, right?
yeah,
Um,
well, ultimately, the way these things work is you get your algorithm at the end of it once you fed all this data and made your manual adjustments, run your revisions, and they're just running it through that. And realistically, it just returns a value range. And if you fall within particular ranges, it makes particular action. That when you boil it down to it, that's kind of how all of these things work. And the real secret sauce are the ones that work well. It's just not even how much data you pull in. It's like how good were the people you had doing the revisions to go in and say, okay, these are false, these are true. Because that's what it always kind of falls down to is you feed it all this data, but it doesn't know what to do with it. You get all that processing power, but you have to have at some level some people really good at math to go in and start saying, all right, here's your positive test cases, here are your negative test cases, and doing that enough to get something that fits. That 99.9% of this is what it is. Because then I'll bring it up just because it happened a couple paragraphs of text back. You did have when you started to talk, it changed your pitch for like the first half a second and then swapped you back in. So I think that leads some credibility to they're probably just streaming the audio and making a decision. You came in at a particular pitch, it didn't expect it, so it brought you back down. And then once it, I guess, lasted long enough, it realized, oh, maybe that's not background noise. Turn that filter off.
interesting. Yeah, so I think all of these sort of things do this. There's another one that's kind of gotten a lot of attention right now. Have you heard about the RTX AI, quote unquote, powered noise filter? Now they do the Nvidia does talk a little bit about how they do this. Have you heard about this or seen any of the
I've heard
video?
they've done it, and I saw somebody like run some audio through it and saw that it worked, but I haven't heard too much else.
Okay, so basically, and the two big, players that have talked about this are Linus Tech Tips and Barnacles, I believe is the guy's name. But basically, they have like power drills and bullhorns and things happening in the background while someone's recording some information um, about whatever it is that they're doing. So they're recording, you know, just like somebody just kind of talking, and they're making all this noise, vacuum cleaner, bullhorn, drill, things like that. And there's some moments where it kind of like warbles the guy's voice, but for the most part, all you hear is him. You
Hmm.
don't hear anything else. The noise gates and everything that they throw in there. Now the way Nvidia says that they're doing it is they're using the processing power of the CUDA cores to be able to real time process the stream as it's coming in. I think it uses like 2 or 4 CUDA cores on an RTX card. You can have it set up on a non RTX card, and it's pretty flippin' fantastic. I think that you and I should set up an experiment where, since I have my RTX 2070, and we should set that up to do some stuff, have some background noise going, like some major background noise going,
Hmm.
and just see how that plays out, and like how well you can hear me while I'm talking to you through a distance, and we're going through all this stuff. We're recording some podcasts and we're doing some of these things. I think that would be a fantastic episode.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
Yeah, I think
Get
it
some
would be.
speakers behind us, play different noises and stuff like that.
Yeah, play some like loud heavy metal or something like that. See if anything gets
Hmm.
picked up, because it might only pick up like it's. I think the way it's programmed, or the way I understand it, it's programmed to target like human voice when it's speaking. So this is all like it's designed to work like for streaming, and for things like that when people are talking naturally. And so the mic will pick that up, but it'll get in other applications, even like with like some of the things that we're using, like with Krisp and things like that,
Mm.
the 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 information that's being pulled in may still warp the voice because it sees that as the same information.
Yeah.
But supposedly you get that less with the RTX stuff. So
Okay.
I would be super interested to see how that works out, and that might be a future like part two of talking about quote unquote AI power, because they're like, this is an AI neural network powered blah 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 thing. But you don't have that on the computer that you're streaming from, so I seriously doubt that it's AI, artificial intelligence, but it's probably more like some sort of algorithm they have that's able to take advantage of the processing of the CUDA cores.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and to be fair, neural networks, by their definition, are a field within AI. But it is generally not, when people talk about AI, what people think about.
Yeah,
That kind of level of AI isn't really there yet, and there's a lot of debate if we'll ever actually even get there by, leaders in the field. It's kind of, if anyone knows like what automated testing is, that's essentially what a neural network is. It's a lot of providing what the correct responses should be and throwing lots of data at it and then making adjustments. And it does definitely work. And it is definitely a lot more efficient than anything else we have. I mean, to get a person to sit down and do these things, even a team of people, would take forever and there would be problems. But, just like if you think about other AIs, you take, I forget what the IBM called their most recent chess bot that just no one's been able to beat. You know, it knows how to play chess really well, but it knows how to play chess by just being so fast it can simulate all of the other moves. and it just picks mathematically the one that's most likely to win.
Yeah.
There is no actual like, because you did this move, I think I should do that move, or some idea of, well, I can do something that's not the most efficient move. It's just I've run hundreds of megabytes of data very quickly, which what turned out the best. And so in that way, that they are very useful. But a lot of the marketing gets this up, and when they start talking to people about they always portray it as some like Cortana from Halo style. Oh, it just knows, and it doesn't. It
That's
it
not how
ran
that
a bunch of
works.
numbers, and it thinks this is best, and it might be best. But the only way it knows that is because at some point, a whole bunch of really smart computer scientists and mathematicians got together and made the formula for what is right and what is wrong. And then you're just comparing how close you are to your like expected value.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we should totally. So it's a misnomer to call it AI powered, but we should totally have an Nvidia test of our own and just see how that turns out. I think it'd be a fun episode to do.
Yeah.
So do you have anything else you want to say about that?
No, I think that's good.
All right, cool. Well then, thank you so much for listening. This has been season 3, episode 8 of the Beer and Broadband podcast. We really appreciate you taking time out during especially this hard time for everyone to listen to our podcast. And so thank you very much and have a great week. We'll talk to you later.